and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Andy, sometimes Mouse, and I talk about books and book-related things. And if you're tired of this outfit, think of how I feel. No, today I am going to be giving you my Clear Your Shit Part 1 TBR. Now, transparently, I know the secret prompts. I am not telling you the secret prompts. So I will tell you what I am reading. I'll even tell you what weakness or strength or weapon I picked, but I won't tell you the prompt. And you can just make your guesses from there. But I have been planning this for a bit, and I have a secret to tell you. So I got really good for a really long time at not having a ton of physical books. I'm still pretty good at that I haven't read. And I was usually very on top of my digital copies. I am no longer very good at that. I don't know what happened, but I have a secret, and it is that I have around 100 unread digital copies of books. I have one unread physical copy of a book that I have had since November of last year. When I get rid of Terry Pratchett's Discworld series when it comes to my digital copies, because I own all of them digitally, I just always have, literally all of them. I've had them since I was like 15. That brings that number down to about 74 digital copies. So and I will obviously be reading one of those books this month, because I read one every month, but I have 74 unread digital books, so my plan is to get that as low as possible during Clear Your Shit. So let's go ahead and talk about it. I will put the book cover up here, and I will try, hopefully editing me will try and put the prompt here. If I decide not to do that, I might put the book up here and the prompt just next to it, instead of where I normally put like the author, like the title and the genre. I don't know. Editing me will be the one to determine which of those two things looks better. Because I feel like if I have all that, that's like a lot of text on the screen. I don't know. I don't love that. So yeah, let me go split up my cats and we will get into what my TBR is. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. For Read the most recently added book on your TBR, I will be reading Play Nice by Rachel Harrison, because I love Rachel Harrison. This is a horror adult book. Cleo Louise Barnes leads a picture-perfect life as a stylist and influencer, but beneath the glossy veneer she harbors a not-so-glamorous secret. She grew up in a haunted house. Well, not haunted. Possessed. After Cleo's parents' messy divorce, her mother Alex moved Cleo and her sisters into a house occupied by a demon. Or so Alex claimed. That's not what Cleo's sisters remember, or what the courts determined when they stripped Alex of custody after she went off the deep end. But Alex was insistent. She even wrote a book about her experience in the house. After Alex's sudden death, the supposedly possessed house passes to Cleo and her sisters. Where her sisters see childhood trauma, Cleo sees an opportunity for house-flipping content. Only as the home makeover process begins, Cleo discovers that there might be some truth to her mother's claims. As memories resurface and Cleo finally reads her mother's book, the presence in the house becomes more real, more sinister, revealing ugly truths that threaten to shake Cleo's beautiful life to its very foundation. I think it could be interesting. We will see. Then I have read a children's/middle grade book, or one with a child in it. And transparently, I don't know if I should be reading this in considering my current state, but I'm gonna. And that's gonna be Tantrum by Rachel Eve Moulton. This is another adult horror book. Thea's third pregnancy was her easiest. She wasn't consumed with anxiety about the baby. She wasn't convinced it was going to be green, or have a third eye, or have tentacles sprouting from its torso. Thea was fine. Her baby would be fine. But when the nurses handed Lucia to her, Thea just knew. Her baby girl was a monster. Not only was Lucia born with a full set of teeth and a devilish glint in her eye, but she was always hungry. Indiscriminately so. That's fucking horrifying. One day, Lucia pointed at her baby brother, looked Thea dead in the eye, and said, "I eat." Thea doesn't know whether to be terrified or proud of her rapacious baby girl, and as Lucia starts growing faster and talking more, dark memories bubble to the surface, flashes from Thea's childhood that won't release their hooks from her heart. Lucia wants to eat the world, and Thea might just let her. I think that could be interesting, but I also don't know if I should read it, considering I am pregnant. We have Read a book with a potentially intimidating or scary character in it, to which I will be reading Empty Heaven by Freddie Kolsch. This is another horror book, but this one is young adult. Darian Sabine Arden is haunted by a monster who claims to love her. Her only respite is in the New England village where she spends summers with her 3 best friends. Kesaquash is serene and idyllic, and the townsfolk folks' odd worship of a godlike scarecrow only adds to the charming local color. But when Darian pays a surprise Halloween visit to her summer crush, a beautiful, unreadable girl named KJ, just in time to see her swept up in a bizarre harvest ritual, she's forced to admit that good Arcturus is more than a quaint superstition. He's fucking real. Something ancient and sinister lurks beyond the dying sunflower seeds and glowing windows of Kesquash and in the hearts of the people who live there. Something that just doesn't take kindly to its paradise being threatened. To save KJ and themselves, Darian and her friends must question everything they thought they knew about their home, and Darian will have to tell the awful truth about the monster that's been with her all along. I feel like that one might be trauma. The monster that's with her. Just a thought. Read a book where someone goes on a journey. I'll be reading Dreamslinger by Gracie Kem. This is a fantasy middle grade book, I believe. 14-year-old Aria Loveridge lives at the... This might be young adult because she's 14. I don't know what determines that. Rest Haven Home for Dreamslingers, a safe haven for children born with a genetic mutation that transports them to a powerfully magical realm when they sleep. But this magic can be unpredictable and even deadly. After all, it was only 10 years ago when members of the Royal League of Dreamslingers caused the Great Outburst, a tragedy that killed hundreds of people, including Aria's mom. Since then, Aria's dad has become a leading expert on dream slinger welfare, which means Aria knows better than most what it takes to keep society safe from her, and others like separation, identification, and most importantly, power suppression. So, when the Kingdom of Royal Hunguk, home of Dreamslinger League, announces the first Dreamslinger trials where teenage slingers from around the world are invited to compete for a chance to join the League and learn how to use their powers, Aria knows that she must join the trials and take down the League from the inside. But the trials introduced Aria to a world of wondrous magic and friendship where she finally feels like she belongs, and as dark secrets from the past are revealed, ones that make Aria question her very identity, she becomes even more determined to discover the truth for herself. She just has to survive the trials first. Next up, we have Read a book that the title starts with T. I will be reading The Once and Future Me by Melissa Pace. This is an adult sci-fi horror. Virginia, November 12th, 1954. A young woman wakes, agitated and confused, on a patient transport bus arriving at Hanover State Psychiatric Hospital. She remembers nothing of her life before that moment, none of the dark things she must have seen and done that forged her into such a skilled and cunning fighter. Once she's been subdued, doctors explain that she's Dorothy Fraser, a paranoid schizophrenic committed by the state to Hanover for treatments they hope will quell her increasingly violent and grandiose delusions. She's certain they're wrong until disturbing visions begin to invade her reality of a dystopian future where frantic scientists urge her to do whatever it takes to complete the mission and save humankind. Convinced it's Hanover causing the hallucinations, she tells no one, focuses only on escape. Until there's a visitor, a man whose loving face and touch she remembers, a man who knows all about her visions because he spent years helping her cope with them, her husband, Paul Fraser. Now she's sure of nothing, caught between two possible lives, two realities, believe in the future and she might save the world, believe in her doctors and Paul and she might save herself, save the cheerleader, save the world. It doesn't say that, I just said that. Is my audience old enough to know that reference? Please say yes. She's desperate for answers, but she'll have to harness the darkness inside her to get them, risking her freedom, her mind, and ultimately her life in a harrowing quest for the truth. Next up, we have my free space where I will be reading the next book in the Discworld series, Men at Arms. This is a series, so I'm not going to tell you what the next book is about. The Guardsman, I think, is what this one is about. And then for the mini-boss, I have chosen Maximalist as my weakness, where it says, has more book than bookshelves. I will be reading Come Out by Natalie C. Parkman. I think this is either a thriller or a horror, and it's young adult. It's never been safe for Fern, Jacques, or Mallory to come out to their families. As kids, their emerging identities drove them into friendship, but also forced them into the woods to hide in an old abandoned house when they needed safety. But one night, when the girls sought refuge, Mallory never made it back home. Fern and Jacques did, but neither survivor remembered what happened or the secrets they were so desperate to keep. 5 years later, Fern and Jacques are seniors on the verge of graduation, seemingly happy in their straight, cisgendered lives, until a spirit who looks like Mallory begins to appear, seeking revenge for her death and the part that Fern and Jacques played in it. As they're haunted, something begins to shift inside them. They remember who they are, who they want to love, and the truth about the vicious secrets hiding in their woods. Haha, what? Next, we have Read a Book with Magical Elements in it, which I will be rereading A Study in Drowning and then reading A Theory of Dreaming by Ava Reed. These are fantasy, and I believe they are adult fantasy horror? Maybe they're just horror. I'm reading a lot of horror. Also, side note, I am not following my general rule of thumb of reading one genre of every kind for this, because then I would have been very limited. Effie Stair has always believed in fairy tales. She's been haunted by the Fairy King since childhood, and has been reading Amorous Murden's epic about a mortal girl who falls in love with the Fairy King, and then destroys him, and it's the only thing that keeps her afloat. So when the Midrins family announces a contest to redesign the late author's estate, Effie feels certain it's her destiny. But the manor is an impossible task, and its residents are far from welcoming, including Preston, a stodgy young literature scholar determined to expose Midrin as a fraud. The two rivals piece together clues about Midrin's legacy. Dark forces, both mortal and magical, conspire against them, and the truth might bring them both to ruin. Enemies to lovers from a scholar perspective, and I just think that's so fun. Next, we have Read a Book with Gold on the cover, to which I will be rereading Evocation by S.T. Gibson, which has silver in the cover, and then reading Ascension by S.T. Gibson, which has gold in the cover. As a teen, David was a psychic prodigy operating under the shadow of his oppressive occultist father. Now, years after his father's death and rapidly approaching his 30th birthday, he is content with the high-powered life he's curated as a Boston attorney. But with power comes a price, and the devil has come to collect on an ancestral deal. David's days are numbered, and death looms at his door. So he reaches out to his ex-boyfriend and secret society rival Bryce, for help. However, the only way to get help is through his wife, Moira. So they're thrust into each other's care, and emotions once deep resurface, and the trio race to figure out their feelings for one another before the devil steals David away for good. And for the 10th book, I think we're at 10 now. There's so many books. We have Read a Book You Keep Putting Off, and I have the Legendborn series by Tracy Deonn. I do not mean to put these books off, I just keep forgetting I have them. Which is another prompt, but anyway. I will be rereading Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, and then reading Bloodmarked and Oathbound by Tracy Deonn for the first time. After her mother dies in an accident, 16-year-old Bree Matthews wants nothing to do with her family memories or childhood home. A residential program for bright high schoolers at UNC Chapel Hill seems like the perfect escape, until Bree witnesses a magical attack her very first night on campus. A flying demon feeds on human energies. A secret society of so-called Legendborn students that hunt the creatures down, and a mysterious teenage mage who calls himself a Merlin and who attempts and fails to wipe Bree's memory of everything she saw. The mage failure unlocks Bree's own unique magic and a buried memory with a hidden connection. The night her mother died, another Merlin was at the hospital. Now that Bree knows that there's more to her mother's death than what's on the police report, she'll do whatever it takes to find out the truth, even if it means infiltrating the Legendborn as one of their initiates. Tracy Deonn, I think, is also going to be at the November book festival, the Texas Book Festival that I go to every year. So that's exciting. Maybe I'll be reading the books then, during that time. Oh Lord, I hope my camera doesn't overheat. Next up, we have Read a Book Set in Another Time. I will be reading Her Radiant Curse by Elizabeth Lim, which is, I didn't talk about what the other books were. They were like fantasy young adult, I think, and then Ascension is fantasy adult, okay? Her Radiant Curse, I have no idea. I think it's fantasy young adult by Elizabeth Lim. Chani was not born a monster, but when her father offers her in a sacrifice to the demon witch, she is forever changed. Cursed with a serpent's face, Chani is the exact opposite of her beautiful sister Vanna, the only person in the village who looks at Chani and doesn't see a monster, the only person she loves and trusts. Now, 17, Vanna is to be married off in a vulgar contest that will enrich the coffers of the village leaders. Only Chani, who's had to rely on her strength and cunning all these years, can defend her sister against the cruelest of suitors. But in doing so, she becomes the target of his wrath, launching a grisly battle royale, a quest over land and sea, and a romance between sworn enemies, a choice that will strain Chani's heart to its breaking point. I like Elizabeth Lim's writing. I think it's a lot of fun, so I'm excited about that one. Next, we have 2 books that I will be reading for one prompt. Read a book that you keep forgetting you have. First up, we have Gods Don't Cry by Ellen Ryan. This is a collection of stories from about the ancient gods of Ireland, because these stories have the tendency to disappear, and this is an attempt to recover some of these dead stories, so I'm excited to read that. Then we have A Well-Trained Wife by Tia Levings, which is about Tia Levings, who, it's a nonfiction adult book. Tia was recruited into a fundamentalist quiverful movement as a young wife, and it is about her trying to leave that experience and what that looks like and what it looked like to be there, etc. Then we have The Side Quest, which is Read a Sapphic book. I will be reading 2 books for this. The first book is This Is My Body by Lindsay King Miller. This is an adult an adult horror book, I believe. Single gay mom Brigitte always thought that cutting ties, or Bridget, I don't know, with her extremist Catholic family was the best thing she could have done for her daughter Dylan and for herself. But when Dylan starts having terrifying fits of unnatural violence, Bridget can't shake her memories of a girl from her childhood who behaved the same way, until Bridget's uncle, Father Agnes, performed an exorcism. Convinced that her daughter is suffering from demonic possession, I can't talk all of a sudden, Bridget does the thing she told herself she'd never do and goes home. Father Angus is the worst person she knows, but he's also the only person who can help her daughter. But as Bridget starts to uncover secrets about Father Angus, that long-ago exorcism, and her family's past, she realizes that she and Dylan have never been in more danger. No shit. If your kid is having, like, a crisis, I don't believe that an exorcism is going to be the thing to fix it. Anyway, the next book that I'll be reading for the same prompt is going to be Everything She Does Is Magic by Bridget Morrissey. Darcy Keller is a resident, this is Sunshine Grump, whatever it is. Sunshine of Town and Town Spirit Princess, loves every moment of Fableview's fall festivities, but she's also really, really, really ready to leave for college next year, even though her parents expect her to stay and take over their Halloween empire. This is an adult romance, I believe. Enter brooding new girl Anya Doyle, a real-life witch and almost full member of her coven. In order to be initiated, she has to choose a mortal ally to act as her protector. But having moved around so much, Anya is completely friendless, so she does what any self-respecting teenage almost witch would do. She lies and tells her coven her secret crush, Darcy, is willing to do the job. I would imagine this is young adult, not adult, my bad. Desperate to solve their personal problems, they agree to help each other out, attending everything from a costume parade to a pumpkin patch party to an apple bobbing contest together. But with Anya's magical powers and Darcy's future independence on the line, the last thing they need is the added complication of pesky feelings. 2 more books, y'all, and then I can take a deep breath. Next up, we have The House of Quiet. We have pick a book at random out of a selection of 5. And I talk about this in the prompt video. I essentially just made a list of books that were on my list of unread digital copies, and of 5 of them, and then put in a random number generator. 1 is the lowest number, 5 is the highest, and then hit go, and that's how I picked this book. House of Quiet by Kirsten White is what I will be reading. And as you guys know, I fucking love Kirsten White. This is a horror book. I'm not sure if it's adult horror or not. In the middle of a deadly bog sits the House of Quiet. It's a place for children whose procedure triggered powers too terrible to be lived with, their last hope for treatment. No one knows how they're healed or where they go afterward. Birdie has begged, bargained, and blackmailed her way inside as a maid, determined to find her missing sister Magpie. But what she discovers is more mysteries. Instead of the destitute children who undergo the procedure in hopes of social advancement, the house brims with aristocratic teens wielding strange powers they never should have been burdened with. Though Birdie wants to ignore them, she can't help but be drawn to the stoic and silent forest, charmed by Clever River, and concerned for the youngest residents. And with fellow maid Minnow keeping tabs on everything, Birdie does, danger is everywhere. In her desperate search for Magpie, Birdie unearths terrifying threats and devastating truths, forcing her to confront just how much she's willing to sacrifice to save her own sister. Because in the House of Quiet, if you find what's lurking beneath, you lose everything. Okay. And last but not least, for November, clear your shit. Read a book with a blue cover. I will be reading Skip Shock by Caroline O'Donoghue. Margot is a troubled schoolgirl. After the death of her father, she's on, and I don't know what the genre and stuff is, maybe editing me will put it in. After the death of her father, she's on her way to a new boarding school in a new city. Moon is a salesman. He makes his living traveling through a series of interconnected worlds on a network of barely used train lines. They never should have met, but when Margot suddenly appears one day on Moon's train, their fates are become inextricably linked. If Margot wants to survive, she has to pass as a traveling salesman too, except it's not that easy. Move north on the train line and time speeds up, a day passing in mere hours. Move south and time slows down, a day can last several weeks. Slow worlds are the richest, you live longer, your youth lasting decades. Fast worlds are sharp, cruel, and don't have time for pleasantries. Death is frequent. Salesmen die young of skip shock. That is, if they're not shot down by the Southern Guard first. As Margot moves between worlds and her attachment to Moon intensifies, she feels her youth start to slip between her fingers. But is Moon everything he seems? Is Margot? I don't know. Guess we'll find out. Alright, gang. This has been my TBR for Clear Shit, part 1. I will see you guys in part 2, where I tell you about my TBR for Clear Shit that I will be reading in December. This has been a very long video, so thank you for sticking around. If you have, can you leave me a comment of like your favorite book emoji in the comments if you stuck around? That would be fun. That'd be cool. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and share. If you did not like this video, I'm sorry. I post videos every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, so I'll see you later on this week. Don't forget to take your meds, drink your water, and do something today to take care of yourselves, like make your clear shit TBR. Okay, thanks, bye.